All right, we're back. I don't know why that keeps happening. It's very frustrating, but luckily, I know from practice that the recordings will be split up into two pieces, but still they'll be available. And so you haven't really missed anything, but this really shouldn't be necessary. This is ridiculous. But anyway, let me get Moodle open again. There's three interesting videos that we can watch right now, having seen all of this material. The first one is all about compound interest. And then the next two are about interest rates on Wall Street. Oh, so yeah, what I was starting to think, you know what, I haven't used this poll thing in a while. I know, I don't want to push my luck with this system, but, oh boy. All right, never mind. I was just going to ask if anyone's actually had it. Oh, here it comes. Man, it's supposed to work. And when I say it could be high school, just out of curiosity, because I wonder if a lot of what I'm telling you is brand new or not. All right, let's see if we can run this thing. Normally these run pretty well, but I'm not so sure today. Just out of curiosity, that's the only, I just wondered. Is it working? Yes, okay, good. So far it's a tie between yes and no. Oh, the no's are coming out in the lead. More no's, oh my God. Ooh, the no's are really up ahead now. Well, actually, almost, I wouldn't say that that's necessarily a good thing, but it means that this information is especially valuable if you've not run into it before, because like I said, this will affect your life. I mean, this will really have an impact on your life. And so you want to understand as much as possible before you go out and try to buy a car, for example, or get a credit card. And so the more you know, the more it'll be easier for you to make good decisions. Okay, all right, that's enough. I was just wondering. So let's get those videos going. By the way, they do have an economics department at Purchase if you're tempted to run over there and grab a few electives. I just thought I'd mention that. You never know what you might find interesting. Okay, hold on. Yes, yeah, I've got to go through this thing every time now. All right, here we go. Oops, got the wrong one. So yes, we have three wonderful videos waiting for us today. So let's start with the first one. So as usual, I'll put the link in the post in the chat room. All right. Let me fire that off to you and let's check this out. All right, let's watch this and see how interesting this material really is.
Interest rate for 3 years. The interest you earn each year is 5% times 10,000, which equals $500.
All right. Well, that was just pretty much what we were doing, but it's kind of fun to see it as a video, don't you think? So, yeah, there's more here. Oh, actually, you know what? I didn't even notice this was here. I just accidentally discovered another cool video that I think we should watch. It's about compounding. Now, this is from Marginal Revolution University. They typically do economics videos and they're awfully, awfully well done. So, like I said, this is one of those cases where you really ideally should understand this as well as possible for your own daily lives. So, what I'm going to do is send this to you, even though it's not on Moodle just yet, just because I'm sure it's very well done. All right, so let's check this out. Oops, oh, stop. All right, let's carry on. All right. So after seeing that, who wants to be myopic Mary and who wants to be meticulous Mary? They're just basically making the point that the sooner you start saving, the more rapidly your money will grow, because you can see the compounding effect becomes very large as you start getting close to retirement age. So that's why, you know, they're saying that besides the interest rate and the compounding frequency, time is also a major element in how much you can return from your savings. Okay. Oh, I forgot to turn this back on. All right, you know, so just helpful hints. Now, if you really want to get more deeply into this, you can always take a course in personal financial management or something along those lines. But for our purposes, it's enough to note that the more earlier you start saving, the more years of savings you'll have. And because of compounding, even starting 10 years earlier can make an unbelievable difference in how much you'll end up with when you retire. So, you know, this is more of the area of financial planning, but still, it's important to understand how this works. Okay, and of course, you have your formula so you can see how much of a difference it really makes. Of course, in the early years of your career, you're not likely to have a whole lot of money to save, and that is unfortunate. But you know, you do what you have to do, but just be aware that the sooner you can start, the better off you'll be. That's what they're trying to tell us. All right, now the next one is called Interest Rates by Wall Street Survivor. By the way, I forgot to mention the first video, the compound interest was put together by a website called Investopedia. If you ever want to know more about finance or investing, this is a good place to get started because they'll explain a lot of important concepts to you. And also there's a lot of important economic and financial news on here. But let's just say that you're just looking for a particular definition. Let's say you want to know what the word bond means. What is a bond? Why would you buy one of these things? And you come up and say, oh, here we go, understanding what a bond is. And all the stuff you need is right here. And you know, they may have links to other websites where you can go look up more information. And see all these links here, they'll send you off to these other topics. So let's just say there's a lot of very useful information here if you're interested. In fact, why don't I send that to you in the chat room? Just a little hint. Remember that Investopedia, it's like an encyclopedia for investment. I'm sure that's where the name comes from. And it really has a lot of helpful information. So, all right, anyway, with that being said, let's go on to the next one. Interest Rates by Wall Street Survivor. And let's stop that right now. And let's check this out.
What are interest rates?
Okay. All right, so there's one more here I want you to see today. There's more, of course, there's always more, but I want to, this one is specifically about how interest rates are actually determined in the economy. Okay, up to this point, we tended to take them for granted. They are whatever the bank says they are, but we know that interest rates do change over time due to, what's going on in the economy. And like I said before, typically they rise when the economy is strong and they tend to fall when the economy is weak. Right now, they're very low. There's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, COVID. With the COVID going on, nobody knows what to expect, and so interest rates were lowered by the Federal Reserve System to make sure that the economy could keep going. And so the Federal Reserve System, as we'll see, is the central bank of the United States. They're the ones who ultimately set interest rates in the economy. And whenever there's a crisis like that, they always lower rates to very low levels to help the economy prevent it from collapsing. And it happened like 10 or 12 years ago. There was a major crisis in the housing market where housing prices suddenly collapsed. And at that time, there was a lot of bank failures and business failures. And so, again, the Fed lowered rates to almost zero. And they were just starting to rebound a little bit when the COVID hit. So we've had a pretty long stretch here of very low rates. But once the COVID is more or less over, we should expect to see rates heading back to more normal levels. So anyway, let's check this out. Hold on. Here we go. How interest rates are determined and what affects interest rates. Let's see how it looks kind of short, but it's worth watching. Put that in the chat room. All right, let's check this out. I thought that was very good. It was a very concise explanation as to what the Federal Reserve is trying to accomplish when they either raise rates or lower rates. And like they said, if the economy isn't doing so well, the Fed will try to lower rates to encourage people to either borrow and buy more products. And also it encourages businesses to invest more. And so because it becomes cheaper to borrow. And so it has a very powerful impact on the economy. And but the problem is sometimes the economy gets a little too strong and prices can start to rise very rapidly. So when that happens, the Fed tries to slow it down a little bit. So you can almost think of the way the Fed controls interest rates is almost like a shock absorber to the economy. We're trying to prevent the economy from getting too rapid, or growing too rapidly, I should say, or growing too slowly. We want to avoid both unemployment and inflation, although it's not always easy to have it both ways, because more of one tends to lead to less of the other, and vice versa. So the Fed has a tricky job, but they've been very successful at it for many years. And so anyway, what's coming next is not another video. We're going to take another quick peek at chapter 8. I just want to introduce the next topic real fast. And I started to allude to this earlier when I mentioned that if you go to the bank, you might notice that for every account that they're offering, there's not one but two rates of interest quoted there. And you might say to yourself, why? What's going on here? Okay, so let's jump ahead. You know what, I should probably, I don't know if the bank would appreciate my taking a picture of their signs, so maybe I won't do that. But I would love to have, okay, where did we leave off? Oh, you know what, I just realized that is not the next topic. Sorry about that, but that's coming up. Or, oh, actually, no, maybe I'm in the wrong spot. Hold on a second. What am I doing here? I'm completely lost. We did this example. Oh no, I was right the first time. This is where we're going to look at why there are two rates of interest quoted at a bank for every account that you might actually be interested in. I don't know if it's possible to get on the net and see a picture of this. Let's just see if we can find this. It's something you might not have ever noticed. Oh, yeah, I hope that I could get a picture of a bank. Well, anyway, so here's what we're building up to. There are two basic ways in which interest rates can be quoted. Okay, the rate, the so-called effective rate of interest, is the interest rate that you will pay taking into account the compounding frequency of the interest rate. Okay, so in other words, we know that when you, let's say, compound interest more than once a year, then the actual amount that you're either paying or earning is more than the amount that they've stated for you. In other words, if they told you that, like back here, in this example, they gave us an interest rate of 6%. And yet, we paid more than $1,800 worth of interest, didn't we? The simple interest on this loan is only $1,800, and yet we ended up paying $1,966.81. So that means the rate of interest we actually paid, or the effective rate, is more than 6%. Okay, so that's the key detail here. The simple interest does not take into account compounding frequency. It's $1,800, and that's based on a quoted rate of interest of 6%. But that number is a little deceiving because we're actually going to pay more than that by the time the loan is done. The question is how much more? So the effective rate tells us how much we're going to pay, including the compound interest. Well, there's a formula that lets us do this, but let's see. Let me just jump ahead a little bit here. I want to remind myself. All right, here we go. I wrote this in after the fact. The number that in that last example, the 6% that we were quoted, which is how much interest, simple interest we're paying, is called the APR, or annual percentage rate. That's the official title of that interest rate, APR, or annual percentage rate. Sometimes it's called the nominal rate, and that rate reflects simple interest only. So if the bank says to you, listen, we charge 6% for our loans. What they're telling you is that it's 6%, but that does not include the compound interest. So if you sat down and calculated how much interest you're really paying, it'll clearly be more than 6% because that includes the impact of the compound interest. That rate, the rate you're actually paying, is sometimes called the effective rate. Sometimes it's called the effective annual rate. It is often abbreviated EAR, which you can see here stands for effective annual rate. This is the one that you're actually paying when you borrow money because it includes both the simple and the compound interest. So if you go to a bank and they have a quote on the wall and says, here's how much we charge you for loans, they will typically have both numbers listed on the wall there. Like in our case, it would be the 6% that they were charging you, but not taking into account the compound interest. And then next to it would be the true rate, which would be, let's say it's 6.2%. So you've got both of them in front of you and you can decide whether or not you want to borrow the money. So here's an example. Suppose you walked into a bank tomorrow and you looked at the rate quotes for 5-year certificates of deposit. And you'll say, wait a minute, there's two numbers. The first one is the annual percentage rate, which means they're offering you 1.02%. But when you take into account the compounding frequency, you're actually going to earn 1.04%, which is called the effective annual rate. So you look at it and say, I see. So the one on the left isn't taking into account compounding frequencies. It's not a true rate of interest in the sense that the 104 is what I'm actually earning. So you can see why it's important to have both numbers. If they just told you the first one, you wouldn't know how much you're actually earning or how much you're receiving when you lend the money. So therefore, as far as I know, the law requires them to either show both of these numbers or just the EAR if they only show one, because you need to know exactly what you're getting into when you deal with this bank. Now, fortunately, the formula for doing this is not terribly complicated. It's actually, if anything, a little bit simpler than some of our other formulas. So let me just show it to you real fast here. How do you go from one to the other? Well, first of all, if you recall, this down here is my future value formula. I wanted to put it there so you could see the connection between that and this formula. Just keep in mind, E is the effective annual rate and R is the annual percentage rate. What's different between these two is that the EAR calculation is independent of how many years we're leaving the money in the account. It doesn't matter. All that matters is the compounding frequency. So there's no T here, in other words. If you notice, the only difference between the two formulas, well, actually, there's two differences. We don't need the principal either because this is a percentage. The A is a dollar amount. It's the same logic, though. Whatever our APR is, if we compound it n times a year, we'll end up with our appropriate APR. All right, now, you know what I'd like to do? Let's go back and revisit that last example real fast. In the previous example, an investor took out, or a borrower, I guess I should say, took out a 3-year loan at a rate of 6% per year with, now I've forgotten what the compounding frequency was. It was 3-year loan of $10,000 at a rate of 6% per year. And the compounding frequency was God, where was it? I just had it. Monthly. This means that the APR of this loan is 6%. What is the effective annual rate? Okay. So the annual percentage rate, what is the EAR, effective annual rate? In other words, how much are you actually paying? That's an extremely important question. So let's plug in the numbers and see what we come up with. And whatever it is, it's going to be more than 6%. The question is how much more? All right, so here's our formula. Let me grab that. Okay, so we'll plug in the numbers. If this thing ever wakes up, okay, equals. So it's 6%, the APR is 6. N is 12. And here N is 12 minus 1. Now, I did recommend that you simplify this. So what we're going to do, let me do this by hand. We're going to rewrite this as 1.005 raised to the 12th power minus 1. And if you go to your calculator, 1.005 to the 12th power is 1.0616778, let's say. When you subtract the 1, you're left with 0.616778, which is 6.16778%. So in other words, starting with a quote of APR of 6, the real amount that you're paying is 6.16778%, and of which all of this is the compound interest. And so when you walk in the bank, they should have both of these numbers posted. If not, they'll have just the EAR, because that's the number that determines how much you're actually paying. Okay. So do you see what I mean by this? Simple interest only is what they'll tell you is the rate. But when the compounding is calculated, the total is our EAR, and that's obviously higher, kind of a bit higher, about 6 1/6% is our compound total interest that we're paying. Okay. All right. So that's what this is all about. So we've got more numerical examples of this to do, and we've also got at least one more video to look at based on this topic. But we also then have another very complicated idea to look at. So we'll have to save that for Thursday, I'm sorry to say. This is a very fascinating topic, but we only have so much time for it. So we'll stop right here, and we'll pick it up again on Thursday. We'll go through some more examples of this EAR and APR, and then we'll learn a very important new idea. And then we'll carry on from there. All right. So if there's no last minute questions, I'll see you all on Thursday. All right.